I have to tell you, the Amaryllis is one of the most rewarding plants that I grow in my house during the winter when it's really bleak outside. Just look at the flower power here. This bicolored variety is called Minerva. There's so many different colors of Amaryllis to choose from. You know, what's fascinating about it is, while I've got these planted in some soil, you actually don't have to have soil to grow them and get them to bloom. If you take this soilless approach, just be sure to place beads, rocks, or other materials in the bottom of your container to keep the bulb from actually sitting in water. Now, to keep these flowers looking their best, place them in a cooler location in your home that doesn't get a lot of direct sunlight. Now, here's a little tip I want you to keep in mind. All plants are phototropic, meaning they lean toward the light, and Amaryllis certainly do. These lovely flowers will move in that direction. To keep them centered and straight and not toppling over, you want to rotate the plant once a day, like this. Now, after all the flowers have wilted, you can cut the stems off near the base of the plant. You see, it's actually this foliage that fortifies the bulb such that it will produce another beautiful bloom next year. So when cold weather comes a-calling, have a little fun, brighten up your house, plant some Amaryllis. You'll be glad you did. I like to use houseplants throughout my house and throughout the year, even during holidays, well, maybe even especially holidays. That's why I love poinsettias and orchids and paperwhites and things like that. They're wonderful for the winter. But you know, I also like to use a lot of different kinds of containers. Since they're in every room, each room has its own special style and look, so there are going to be certain containers that work better than others. Now, two things that are always a problem when bringing houseplants in. Okay, you got a great looking houseplant, you bring it into the house, you're excited about it, but how does it fit comfortably into the space where it needs to go? One of the things that I like to do is make sure that I have a liner for my containers. I collect containers of all kinds, but I never have a liner that's ready-made. This box, by chance, just happened to come with a plastic liner, which makes it really easy for using when planting it with houseplants. See, what you want to achieve is you want to make sure that you've got some kind of waterproof liner that can go inside a container. You can be very creative with this. I'll use plastic bags from the store. Even these freezer bags are great, whether they're a quart bag or a gallon bag. And you can even take and line your containers with aluminum foil. Just make sure you don't pierce it, because if you get a leak, it's going to ruin that great piece of furniture you have. The other thing I like to do is I use these little floor guard plastic saucers. I can place a container on this. It sort of goes away because it's clear and you don't notice it on the table. Now take, for instance, this Pothos. This is an indestructible houseplant. I love it. And if you'll notice, it came in a nursery pot like that with its own saucer. You can see the saucer there, and I dropped it into this galvanized bucket. I love using anything as a container, and this works out perfectly. And if you want a houseplant that anyone can grow, try Pothos. You can see the challenge. If you find an odd container like this, well, this is hardly even a container, but it does support plants if you use one of those liners, and in this case you'd have to use one of the plastic bags, but it can be very effective. Okay, now let's talk about top dressing containers. So we've looked at the bottom of the container, now let's look at the top. Look at this gorgeous orchid. I put it in a galvanized bucket as well, but I've top dressed it with sheet moss. What that does is it gives a decorative finish, makes it look more complete, but it also helps retain moisture in the container. And there are lots of different things you can use here. Here I use the moss on the Paperwhites as well as on this poinsettia. But with this orchid, there's the mulch that it came with. Many of these orchids are grown in bark, and the bark is very attractive. So in this case, I don't really have to do any top dressing. And take a look at this Spanish moss. It's a great way to top a container, and just like the sheet moss, it'll help hold in moisture. In fact, what I like to do is pull off as much as I need, moisten it, and then pack it around the containers. It works really well that way. It can be a little messy, but that's okay, you can clean that up. Hey, if you're enjoying these tips, share them with a friend. And if you have any questions, let me hear from you. Of course, who doesn't enjoy the warmth of a fire in the winter? But once the wood is burned, you got to deal with that ash, or somebody has to. So what I thought I would do is just take some of these tools that I have here and clean out the firebox. So basically what I'm going to do is just take this out and fill up this ash bucket with it. And you want to make sure that you gently pour it in like this. Otherwise you're going to get this poof of ash dust all through the house. Now, what's great about ash is that it has a benefit in the garden. If you love to grow plants, you'll find it interesting that wood ash contains about 1% phosphorus and about 5% potassium. Now, depending on your soil type, this wood ash can come in handy. So why don't I get this cleaned up? Let's head up to the garden and I'll show you how I apply it. Of course, there's no magic to this. What I'm doing is what we call side dressing this row of Brussels sprouts. Every time I get a bucket of ash, I bring it out here. I want to make sure that there are no hot coals in here. So I just kind of go along and throw a handful of it, and I'll do this row and finish it out on both sides, and then the next time I have a bucket of ash, I'll come out and do another row. See, what I'm doing is I'm changing the alkalinity of the soil just slightly. What will happen here is over time, I'll get the chemistry of the soil right. Now, I know it looks like I'm being too aggressive perhaps with these rose bushes, but let me tell you, if you get in there and you get tough with them, they're going to produce so many blooms you can't believe it. All right, I've taken some shears, and you want to start with sharp shears and get you some gauntlet gloves and leather, because these things will eat you alive. And then what I like to do is take a pair of pruning shears, and I'm going to go in here and I'm going to clean this little gentleman up. What I'm going to do is take out all this material that's fallen in so you can get a good idea of the shape of the plant here, all right? If I had a ragged edge like I have here, I want a nice clean cut. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go through here and I'm going to take out anything that's dead. And I'm going to take out everything that's under the size of a pencil. Now I want you to pay attention to this. You see how this stem is grown from the outside, not inside here? That's what you want if you want your plant to grow this direction. So look for those dormant buds and cut just above one that is growing out. And that's how you get a nice shaped plant. What I like to do is go ahead and give them some feed. This time of year they're dormant. And I do that every 6 weeks through the growing season. And in just a few weeks, those little buds will begin to form. From there on, I'm going to have so many blooms you can't even count them. So help me with something. I don't understand this. People say, oh, I don't want to have houseplants because I can't grow them, I kill them. Hey, look, this is the easiest blooming houseplant you could possibly grow. I know it's an orchid. This is a Phalaenopsis orchid. It's also called a moth orchid, and it's called that because of these gorgeous flowers. Just take a look at them. They're supposed to represent moths, but I've never seen a moth so beautiful in my life. And they come in lots of different colors. They come in white, they come in various shades of pink and purple, even salmon and yellow. And I think they're a wonderful addition to any home. And like I said, they're so easy to grow. You don't want to overwater them. That kills them faster than anything. That's a mistake most people make. These things don't need water except for maybe once a week. You can even put just a few ice cubes on them to keep them watered. I even use a turkey baster to just get a little water to keep the bark mulch that surrounds the roots moist. You see, these plants are a part of a big family, the epiphytes, and they grow in trees. And so you can imagine they're not sitting in water. There's over 35,000 species of orchids out there. So looking at this gorgeous thing, you're just seeing the tip of the iceberg. When you buy these things, they typically come in a grower pot like this. And you can see those really big roots in here. They're just gorgeous. And you want to make sure that they stay vibrant like this. They're really white and full and fleshy. I'm going to push this back in here like this because I want to finish my demonstration, which is really about how they're staked. You want to make sure that when you're buying them that they're staked like this and the stems aren't broken. And the other thing that I look for, and I didn't see any when I went to the nursery this time, but you might want to try to find some with extra buds. These flowers will last up to 3 months, but the more unopened buds you have, you're going to have more flower power coming out of that plant over time. Now, when it comes to light, you don't want to put these in direct sunlight. If you have western light that's direct, this plant is not going to last that long. You want it to be an indirect light. That's plenty for these orchids in order for them to keep the full color in the blooms and to keep the plants alive and vibrant. Okay, so you see these stakes, there's nothing attractive about them, and there's nothing attractive really about these clips. So what I like to do is take the orchid and customize it. And we're going to talk a little bit about ways you can customize these plants. One of the things I like to do is put them in my own containers. You know, these are okay. You know, if you've got a room where that works, then that's great. But what I like to do is use some things that already work in my home. So I have some of this green glazed ceramic that I like to use in the back parlor. And what I do is I take these orchids out of the plastic container and I shift them over into a plastic bag. So that's a 1 quart freezer bag, and you just let it get nestled in like so, and then I just roll this back. So a quart is just about the right size. You'll find that maybe a little tight. You'll have to wrestle around with it like I'm doing, but hey, that's just the way it goes, okay? Keep the stakes in here for now, all right? And I'm gonna have this one, I'm just gonna place it in here to hold while I get the other one out. Do the same with this one. Hopefully it'll be a little more cooperative. And the other thing you need to know about orchids when it comes to temperature, if you're comfortable, your orchid is likely to be comfortable. So they don't like it too cold. So you see this one's going in much easier. It's more compliant. I like a compliant orchid. And I'm just going to roll this down. And you can see by leaving the top open, that bark, which it's grown in, is exposed, and you can add whatever amount of water you need to at any given time. Okay, now the trick here is to sort of arrange these in the container like this, and you want the 2 orchids to sort of work with one another. See how I've got all of these kind of moving in the same direction. I've got them moving, it's like you want fish swimming in the same direction, like a school of fish. So once you get them in place, what I do is I like to take pieces of newspaper and just wedge in the sides to help hold them in place. You don't have to use anything fancy. Just pack it in like that. And we'll have time to adjust these in just a minute. You want to make sure that they're really secure. Okay, just like that. And now it's time to replace these sticks. And I'm just going to take these clips off one at a time, because see how they flop like that? And in this case, what I'm going to use is some of this Kiwi Vine, because I think it's so interesting with the curls at the top. Just adds another little touch of visual interest. So I'm going to cut this down, and I'm going to simply stick that in like that. And you see, because of the curl, you've already got some support. And then I'm going to take some of this wire that's wrapped with jute, and I'm going to just make a little natural clip like this. Something you really don't see. It just kind of goes away. It looks natural. See, there we go. Then I'll do each one of those individually. Okay, the last thing you want to do is you want to take some of the sheet moss. What I did is I moistened it earlier. I like to put it in a baking dish like this, and you just want to cover the top of the orchid like this. And I like to moisten this because it's so much more pliable and easy to apply to the top of your dish. And then I can place this in the room. You know, one of the easiest ways that I keep fresh flowers in my house through the winter months is lean on my good friend, the Paperwhite Narcissus. Now, what I'm doing here is I'm actually creating a bed in this glass jar for these bulbs to grow in. You see, Paperwhites don't have to grow in soil. What I'm doing is something sort of stylish. Let's say you're going for something a little more modern, all black or all white. Here I've layered white beads, and now I'm going to add some of these black beads. And now I'm going to finish it off with white. Okay, now it's just a matter of taking the third ingredient, the bulbs, and all I'm going to do is position these in. I like to pack them in, okay? Now all I have to do is add the fourth ingredient. What you want to do with the water is just fill the container up to where the water touches the base of the bulb. Once you get to this point with them, you want to place them in the room where they're away from direct light until they root in. That'll take about a week. You'll begin to see these white roots emerge. Once it's fully rooted in, shift the container where it can get more light, maybe near a window, and watch them bloom. From the garden home, I'm Alan Smith.